And when we wake, what are we awakening to? That's the question of the day. It's the question of our lives when you come right down to it. What are we supposed to be doing here? What is our experience here? What is the possibility? What is our divine potential? I have to say, this has been the most enjoyable set of topics I've ever really embarked on, for me. Hope it is for you too. This business of realizing as I learn more about both ancient spirituality and modern science, and become more and more aware about, hey, they're saying the same thing. Hello? What is modern science looking at? Is it looking in our hearts? In our minds? It's looking at molecules. It's looking at particles and waves. Isn't that exciting? Actually, it is. You might never have thought that before, but hey. And they're both describing the same processes, the same laws, the same universal laws. I don't know about you. I grew up being firmly convinced that body and soul were totally different, right? I had this body, and I was this soul. And they were different, right? There's the world, and then there's God. And they're totally different. There's earth, and then there's heaven. And they're totally different. Is there anybody who didn't grow up thinking that? Guess what? We all need to relearn everything we thought we knew. And that's what we're doing. That's what is slowly dawning on humanity, on us. Well, now wait a minute. If everybody always knew this oneness stuff, where'd it go when we were growing up? I don't know, but it's there. And it's coming out now in revelations of science. And it's the same darned concepts. Oneness. And it's really interesting how, the concept of heaven and earth gave rise to this whole mythology and deeply affected our language, right? We've known the Lord's Prayer, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." And I've always thought of that as meaning, okay, so somehow I got to make earth look like heaven? Forget it about. That's not what it's saying at all. What it's saying is, earth has to be the same as heaven because they're not different. Heaven is not out there someplace. You're not going there at any given time in the future. Just get over it. carry heaven around with you all the time. Not just with you. It's in you. It is you. We're there, folks. So what's wrong with waking up on the wrong side of the bed, huh? Our life is heaven. We are in heaven. So you might ask again, how do we get there? How does that feel? How does our life begin to feel like heaven? And as I am pursuing the notions that, you know what, there are physical evidences all around us of heaven. I'm getting happier. I can't explain it. I've been dipping into Eric Butterworth's, I can't say it's his book, because he produced a seminar on tapes, and has been in the Unity archives for decades. And somebody had the brilliant idea of transcribing it. And so Eric Butterworth, 30 years posthumously, has now come out with a brand new book. From heaven, yeah, right. They called it Practical Metaphysics, which is what he called the course. And he had gotten way beyond what he had written by the time, this was at the end of his life, that he produced this course. And, you know, he gave it, and he sold it, and it never got legs, so it just sat. And I'm going to share with you a little bit of what he says, which is talking about we are in heaven. And heaven and earth, it all just is. And we're there. And it'll sound pretty metaphysical. But I talked last week about one of the concrete experiences that we've all had when somebody's life becomes crystallized in a story once they have left it. And I see this now that I've realized it, picking it up everywhere. That, wow, people I rub elbows with every day, people I have known in my life. Well, generally speaking, I have absolutely no idea until after they've left how many lives they have impacted. How many, in different ways, people come forth and say, oh, I'm going to miss her so much because, and then they tell you the because. It's mind-boggling. So there's something about finishing a life that produces a photograph, a snapshot in other hearts. Not of the person's physical self, but of their spiritual glory, their spiritual power, the love they shared. Even when on the surface you might think, oh, I don't know why this person was around. But they always, people come out and they tell you, and even when the person screwed up it, right and left, they had a positive impact. It's just amazing. So becoming aware of that, we can make inferences. We can't see our own lives. And we really can't see the lives of the people we're with, that we're in the middle of, because we're in the middle of it, But we can infer from being aware of what we see as other people step out of time. We can infer that, yes, we are powerful like that, too. And every thought, every action, even the ones we think nobody noticed, they're making a difference in the world. We are making a difference in the world by being. And I'm going today to share with you an experience that we can all go back into and enjoy whenever we want. That will be another perspective on being in heaven, our life right now. It's in us. Somebody says, oh, you make my life so good. Your life is good. It's in you. Anyway, Butterworth says, the whole universe is present as you. Think. The whole universe is present as who? You. Not just me. This is like teaching pronouns to a 1-year-old. The whole universe is present as me. There you go. All right. And is centered precisely at the point where I am. He continues, explaining that an acorn can become an oak tree, and an egg can become a bird. How commonplace we take that is, as, think about it. Who would ever think? These round objects, they become things. Why? Because the bird is already in the egg, and the tree is already in the acorn. You got that so far? Now let's talk about us. Divine potential is already in us, in me. Let's do that again. Divine potential is already in me. You're not so sure about that, are you? Can you say it again and really mean it? Divine potential is already in me. All right. Next time you get down on yourself, the next time you get mad at somebody else. Oh, yeah, right. Where is divine potential? In me, in me, me. There's no such thing as me and you. We're all me.
But potential means it's not yet developed. So
Well, that's right, but
there, but you have to
what's keeping it from being developed?
Me.
Very good, thank you. Butterworth says, whatever is whole, whether we can see the wholeness or not. Often, we don't see the wholeness. We see broken pieces of the perfect circle of divinity. We see lots of broken pieces. I've been in conversations in the last 3 days, sort of about this, with people saying, yeah, but, right? What about all the kids that are being murdered? What about starting another war? What about people who are hungry? Are you saying that doesn't exist? No, I'm not saying that. That's the broken pieces. Where do we see broken pieces? In ourselves, and that's a universal us, the royal we. Okay? It's the divine we. Yeah, on this earth, on this earthly plane. We can fall down and kill ourselves, basically. That's possible. We can have an operation and it goes horribly. We can pull out from an intersection and be knocked 20 feet. Those things happen. We know they happen. Stuff like that has happened to all of us, right? I don't think anybody has been in a little balloon that has shielded us from disasters of one sort or another, small and huge. So what about that stuff? It's definitely broken pieces. And there's lots of broken pieces. What are they broken pieces of? Eh? What are they broken pieces of?
The perfect whole.
Thank you. The perfect whole, which is always there. It's always in us, every one of us. I've talked to people that I thought would never, because I think of them as, this is my thought, right? My experience with them, I've judged them. I think they don't think, they're not smart, they are malicious, they're very selfish, they're dumb. Have you ever thought that of anybody? And yet, I've talked to people like that when it just seemed like I needed to say something different and to suggest the possibility of being kind, of just doing one thing for somebody. Guess what most of those people have done? I don't like them. I don't want to talk to them. I'm apprehensive about what they're going to think of me because of even suggesting a kind act. What do they all do? They do the kindness, and they're happy to. Yes, try it someday. But you gotta stand outside your judgment. You can't let your judgment say to you, oh, this will never happen. You gotta see the wholeness. And when you come from that awareness of wholeness, almost everybody, I won't go so far as to say 100%, I can't guarantee that, but an amazing number of people actually have that wholeness in themselves. And they recognize it. And they're actually kind of glad to have the opportunity to make something right for somebody. It's kind of scary to try it. But I'm always amazed when I empathize with someone. I'm mad as hell, right, about the know-it-all that's my spouse. This was yesterday's conversation, not with my spouse. But we can be know-it-alls. We readily admitted that we were both know-it-alls too. And, you know, I thought about it and I thought, gee, I don't know if she's willing to do it. I suggested, you know what? Don't expect anything in return. I just want you for the next week, every day, to do something, say something with that person that you genuinely think they would enjoy. Okay, this is a big step, right? It means you've got to suspend hostility long enough to have a sense of what the person might really enjoy. These people are my neighbors. When I was pulling out today, they were walking by the house holding hands. She did it. One day. One little thing. But it happens over and over and over. We all know the wholeness within ourselves. And if somebody else sees it and acknowledges it, they're so happy. It's not manipulation. You have to do it genuinely. But it works. Because we all have that divine nature in us. So, I'm going to lead a meditation, a short one right now. So, if you would, sit back in your chairs, relax, put stuff off your lap. I invite you to relax in your chair and find the silence within yourself. Slow your breathing. Relax your tongue. Relax your shoulders. Feel the air moving through your nostrils and your abdomen rising and falling as you breathe. Know that the universe absolutely supports you through divine principle. In that calm feeling, let your mind take you to an earthly place where you have been before, where you have experienced love, lightness, expanded awareness, spirit, joy. When your mind travels back to that spot on earth, invite in all the awe and beauty you felt when you were there previously. Take a couple of minutes to just resonate with that expanded consciousness and to experience again all its joy and sweetness. Now slowly bring your awareness back into this room, into your body, this moment, this place. Move a muscle or two. Feel your gratitude for being able to revisit that place of beauty in your life, which you can do whenever you want to re-experience its feelings. My place was the shore of a little fishing lake an hour southeast of St. Louis, in a remote rural area. We had a log cabin in that community, and we went there most weekends. And on many Saturdays, weather permitting, I drove over to the lake for some quiet time of peace and reflection. Nobody else was ever there. I loved the solitude. I loved the waves reflecting many rays of sunlight. I loved the incessant motion of butterflies who nested all summer on that beach right next to me. I could feel at peace. I could feel the peace of the universe, of oneness, among the many beings that were there with me. Not humans, but ducks, birds flying overhead, insects. It was just awesome. It's a place I've often gone back to in my mind. This was now about 25 years ago that I was able to go there. But I go there in my inner awareness when I feel disturbed or unsettled. And the beauty and peace of that place, which I obviously internalized, they never failed to bring me back to my true self. And now I'm going to ask 4 or 5 of you to share briefly the sacred space that you went to and speak loudly. I guess if you'd be willing to come up and speak into the microphone, that would help. Maya?
Myra.
Come on. I'm going to cut you off after 4 or 5 sentences. So.
Yeah. Okay. To me, it's not real. It's heaven. In my own balcony, in an apartment where I live, a popular apartments, I discovered that one of the bugs that they're nesting now, they got in my in my dining room, and I discovered it, and I went to it, and I talked to it. I said, I'm afraid too, and you are, but I'm gonna save you. So I pick up a jar with wide mouth, and I rescue it and set it free. And it was nesting in my balcony. That was almost 2 years ago. And every year they come. They come, and I go and talk to them. And I call them ciganas. And you see them everywhere. And I talk to them. And it's heavenly. So heavenly, so peaceful.
Thank
and
you
that's
so
what
much,
I have
Myra.
to say. Thank you.
Would somebody else share with us? Vi?
And the microphone's already ready for me.
Yes, it is.
When I went to a beach and I was standing out there with my dog, we'd just eaten, and I stood out there, And I spoke to the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and I was just kind of in tune with it, and I just felt the waves of the energy enfolding me and loving me, and I felt so fulfilled and loved and cared for and appreciated. I felt my oneness with that beautiful, beautiful ocean.
Thank you, Vi. Pete?
Have to get this a little higher. I like the high places in the mountains. I like to feel the wind blow. And like Vi, it is communication with the earth, with the spirits of the earth. And everything is blissful. And I'm relaxed and I'm peaceful.
Thank you very much. Evan.
To me, I had one with in the forest behind here one day when I was out walking with Josh, and the trees were kind of moving in a bit of a symphony, but there was a brown owl that was following us, and we walked, and it was like he was overlooking us, and he stayed with us for 10 minutes, just looking over us, and it was just, it was beautiful. So that was heaven.
Thank you so much. One more? Kathy?
When I lived in Wales, my friend Janet and I used to go to this field, and we would either sit or lie down and just look at the sky and the beautiful clouds, so I often go back there. But one day, we both fell asleep in the field, and we both woke up at the same moment, and we were surrounded by a herd of cows. Really. And we weren't afraid. And we were all just one in that field.
I wish we had enough time to hear everybody's. What do you feel after hearing just those few? Uplifted, that's a nice word, yes. Grateful. You begin to get a sense of heaven in us. We sat in this room, and by sharing those little vignettes inside of us, we uplifted everybody. You can do this whenever you'd like. You can experience a few moments of heaven. Oh, I think I'd like to be in heaven now. Right? I was blessed 2 or 3 weeks ago at a chaplain's meeting to share that with my colleagues. Somebody suggested it, and it was such a beautiful experience. And I realized this is something we can always do. This is a way to use the earth and our presence here to understand what divine potential really is. And I invite you to practice doing that and share it with a few friends. It's an awesome experience as you go about your lives this week. And so it is. So it is.